just about everybody that I work with stays with me. I mean, I have very few that don't, and that's actually created a bit of a problem, and it's a good and a bad thing. I've gotten so full that I actually, I have trouble, seeing every client that wants to be seen. And interestingly also, I don't do any advertising other than just occasionally posting stuff on Instagram and Facebook, which I'm very bad about, honestly.
I'm Garrett Salpeter, and I believe that the most powerful and transformative way to help people recover from pain and injury, heal from trauma, and reach their highest levels of fitness and performance is to focus on the nervous system. In this podcast, we'll share knowledge from the frontiers of neuroscience and inspirational stories of how applying that knowledge has empowered people from all walks of life to heal, adapt, and grow. Welcome to this episode of the Undercurrent Podcast. I am joined by JP Francouer from Little Rock, Arkansas. JP, thanks for being here.
Thank you.
And JP is actually one of the first practitioners that went through our education certification process right back in 2017.
Mm-hmm.
So we've been working together over 3 years now. Happy anniversary.
Yeah.
It's awesome to have you on the show here. I'm excited to share your story and give everyone a chance to hear some of your experiences, because I think that there's a lot that's going to be valuable for a lot of people to hear. Can you let everyone know just a little bit about your background as more of a manual therapist and exercise, also a little bit of your background and just kind of how you came to work with us and how that all started?
Well, I got my first training certification in 1987, so that tells you how long I've been in fitness. But I started. Through the years I was a trainer, and in the early 90s I opened up a health club, and I had that for about 16 years, and sold it right around the same time I was going through a divorce, and thought I was going to get out of fitness for a while. I was a trainer and massage therapist, but I was just kind of done with it for a while. And I tried my hand at being a spine rep for about 6 months, and it wasn't really working out. And I kept getting bugged by the former clients to come back and train. And I was like, I'm just not going to do it. And I'm trying something new. And finally somebody said, what would it take to get you to train me? And I just tripled my rate. And because I figured I'd throw something out there they wouldn't go for. And they said, done. And I was like, what, really? It's like, okay, that was easy. And I realized at that point, actually, that's why I was so burned out of training, is that I just wasn't charging enough, because I put so much into my clients that it wasn't feeding me back. So once I did that, I was able to work and make it work with not as many clients. And I was really enjoying my career, but I'm always searching and seeking new information, and having had gone through a plethora of injuries of my own, I was always looking for something more. I like to work with, people with injuries, and I sort of accidentally stumbled into direct current therapy. I was working as a golf performance and functional training specialist on the weekends at a really, really exclusive private country club. The owner of the club is a financier, billionaire guy. He's a really nice guy. He called me one morning, and he was really hurting. His back was jacked up, and he said, I can't even put on my own socks. Can you come over and work with me? So I went over and I did some of my manual therapy with him, and none of it was working. And I told him I would check with him the next morning. Well, in the background, I had been experimenting. I had another client who had an old stim device that was a direct current stim device that was literally collecting dust in a closet. It was one of those old kind with the dials, analog kind. And I'd been just reading about it and trying to learn enough about it. And the next morning he called me and he said, hey, I'm still feeling pretty bad. I don't think I'm going to make it to this tournament. He was trying to fly to Augusta to be in this golf tournament. And I said,
like the Augusta, like the Masters.
Yeah, no. He wasn't a professional. This was this was a members only tournament. So
but that like Augusta, Georgia.
Yeah, that
Okay.
Augusta.
Okay.
Yeah. It was called their Jamboree. So I told him, I've been experimenting with this stuff. I'm not really sure if it works, if it'll work or not, but I have high hopes. It seems to make a lot of sense logically. I can come try it with you and it might give you some relief. And he said, okay, bring it on. I'm desperate, And so I went and tried it and worked hot spots, which I barely understood at the time what they were. I was very much a neophyte. And by the time we were done, he was actually feeling pretty good. He was moving around, and I was like, wow, that worked really well. So at that point I said, look, just be careful, don't golf, just at least now you can fly there and sit in the golf cart and drink with your buddies and enjoy yourself, but just be really careful. You're not cleared to golf yet. And he said, okay. And then that was on a Tuesday, and then that Saturday I walked back into the club, and everybody who was greeting me was calling me miracle worker. And I was like, well, that's like the third time. And by the time I finally got up to the clubhouse, everybody said, hey, miracle worker. And I said, okay, what's all this about? What happened? I said, did Warren end up playing? And they said, oh, you haven't heard? And I said, what? And he said, he won first place. And I was like, okay, there's something here. So at that point, the light bulb went off. And I went into that technology, and I went and got a machine of my own, and I tried to get some training, and spent a few very frustrating years trying to understand this stuff and wrap my mind around it, and trying to find other practitioners, and just trying to figure my way around how to blend this in with my practice. And definitely did not know how to blend it in as a fitness tool, but still trying to do like rehab type stuff. And in my efforts to sort of build that network, I stumbled across your website one day, and I was like, that sounds an awful lot like the same language. It sounds like the same thing, but surely there's nobody else that does this. And so
that's right. There's very little direct current. So to
find, there really are. And I remember that day like it was yesterday. I called and I just randomly called. I said, okay, I'm just going to call these people. And of all people, you answered. And I was like, yeah, you answered, and you were talking to me. And I said, well, and you introduced yourself as the founder of the company. I was like, oh, wow. Well, I caught the guy here. And in like a 10-minute discussion, you gave me like 5 or 6 takeaways that I was able to immediately go and apply to my business, to what I had. And I was like, okay, these guys are doing it right. They know how to do this. And it was, I really knew, like that scene in Jerry Maguire, you had me at hello. So I already knew, but by the end of the day, I had made my decision, and I went in, I knew that this was the direction I was going in. And it was an immediate noticeable turnaround for everything, for my business, for everything.
That's awesome. I'm so glad we happened to connect on that fateful day in 2017. And, all just for context for everyone, direct current is a, very small part of the overall electrical stimulation world. And that's one of the things that we talk about as being a, kind of differentiating factor. And so I think it's so cool that you had seen some of the benefits of the combination of your, manual therapy work, using direct current in the past. And then, I'm so glad that was some of my same experience, where I had seen some of the opportunities and the benefits of it. But, as far as I could tell, no one was coming anywhere close to really maximizing the benefits of what it could do and applying it in the range of applications that I saw. And so it felt like there was just this big vacuum that needed to be filled. And I decided to try to fill it. And it's cool just to kind of hear those parallels, because I think you and I had similar experiences of seeing some opportunities, searching for answers, certainly some frustrations along the way. And so I think that's just a little added commentary, but thank you for sharing that. I think that's really cool.
It was like heavenly light bursting through the clouds, and going, I mean, it was like, okay, this is what it's just like it was meant to be. So I got home with my new machine shortly after I did the class. My first client out of the gates was a very active gentleman who had a 100% tear of his meniscus. And I did not know for a fact if I could really help him. He was scheduled for surgery, and it was 100% tear. But I thought, if nothing else, I can at least, get him stronger and help him recover faster. I didn't think I was going to be able to prevent the surgery, but he came in to me, and I worked with him for a couple of weeks, and he went back to the physical therapist he'd been working with, and the guy was doing some kind of stability test on his knee, and he did the test again. And he was like, "What's going on here?" And he said, "What do you mean?" He said, "I don't like to use the M word, but I think some kind of miracle has happened. Your knee is stable. I don't know what's going on here." And then he told him what he was doing. And of course he called me, and then, anyway, interesting conversation, but needless to say, he worked with me for another 2 weeks, but he worked with me for a total of a month and never had the surgery. And he has never had any problems with the knee stability. He's never had any recurrence of knee pain. This is, first person I worked with. And he plays golf, he hunts, he runs trail runs, and he plays tennis, and a very, very athletic guy, and uses his legs a lot, and is very, very fit, and was just giddy that he was able to avoid that surgery. And now he actually stayed with me and just, stayed on and was working out with me because he liked the way the machine felt. And that was actually a really big benefit too. This machine, I just noticed immediately just felt better than anything I'd ever used. And I liked the way I felt when I use it. I get a little euphoric, rush when I use it. And I see it in my clients' faces every day. So I know that everybody's getting something really beneficial from it, from whether they're getting therapy or a workout, which, I'm about half and half.
If you're ready to supercharge your practice, listen to this. Garrett and Team NeuFit have just released a new online course entitled Introduction to the NeuFit Method. In this detailed 8-hour course, you'll gain mastery of the fundamental techniques in our practice, including muscle testing and activations, nerve glides, and joint articulations. You'll also get introduced to our patented direct current stimulation device, the Neubie, an incredible machine that's empowered professionals just like you to help their patients heal, adapt, and grow faster than they ever thought possible. To learn more, go to www.neu.fit/learn. And now back to the show.
Well, let's talk about that for a little bit, because I know that you have a combined background of more therapeutic, manual therapy, and also exercise and fitness, and you kind of combine those two. And I know that also having spoken with you several times, that that's been one of that ability to kind of transition people when they do their rehab into more fitness has really kind of filled up your schedule. Can you just talk about,
no.
Can you talk about how you kind of are able to transition people and retain those clients for longer, and how you kind of apply that on more of that later stage rehab and even kind of general fitness maintenance kind of realm?
So generally, I probably am not typical. Like, I think in like a typical therapy clinic setting, people just come in and get the therapy and they go. And I'm more of I don't bill insurance. I pretty much just give somebody the hour. And so it gives me an opportunity to be more high touch with them. So if I can get somebody, moving really well through the therapy, I'll still give them the rest of the time. So I'll spend so it gives me a little extra time to kind of work with them on other things. So I'll start introducing them to fitness stuff. And so somebody comes into me for like a little torn rotator or something, or like a sprained elbow or something. By the time I've got them rehabbed, usually within, a few sessions, we're getting done with our therapy in about 10 to 15 minutes. So I've got time left, and I'll start doing training with them. And by the time they get to the end of their first 10 sessions, that I'd say I don't know what my exact retention rate is, because I'm not one of those, business geeks who can really dive into the numbers, but I would say that just about everybody that I work with stays with me. I mean, I have very few that don't, and that's actually created a bit of a problem. And it's a good and a bad thing. I've gotten so full that I actually, I have trouble, seeing every client that wants to be seen. And interestingly also, I don't do any advertising other than just occasionally posting stuff on Instagram and Facebook, which I'm very bad about, honestly. But I could be a lot better. But actually, things got so busy that about a year and a half or 2 years ago, I started training someone to help me, Denise Laster. and brought her on as a therapist. And she went through the training then, and before COVID, even though my space is sort of small, I was able to do 2 people at the same time in this clinic. And so we had gotten really, really busy. Then fast forward to COVID, I went from, for about a month, we were pretty slow, but then people started wanting to come back. And since I'm a home-based clinic and all the gyms were closed, it almost created a perfect situation for me. So I started getting calls from clients that I hadn't seen in years. And, I got really, really busy again. And, I'm pretty much maxed out. I can't train anybody else. I'm going to wait until just a few more months until the whole COVID thing is blown over before I sign a commercial lease somewhere. But I do want to expand my business. I've really got to the point where I kind of I have to make a choice. I either just stay where I am and kind of like, I'm making pretty good money. I'm not complaining about that, but it could be, if I want to get to a point where like something like what you've got, where you've got, 4 or 5 trained people working on, on several machines in a clinic and in the gym, that would be an ideal situation.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Well, I know you are busy, so I'm grateful that you carved out a little time to spend here with us. And, one other thing I want to ask you about, you mentioned workouts. Tell me about how you've been using it in your own fitness and how it's impacted you, because I've seen some pictures of your abs and not many. What are you, 53?
52. Thank you very much.
Oh, okay. Sorry. I didn't mean to. You don't look a day over 51.
Gray hair. Yeah.
But you're one of the fittest, definitely, physique wise. I mean, you don't have can't be certainly under 10% body fat, good depth, healthy, and you work all day. I mean, tell us kind of just how your own story of how you've been able to have such a busy professional life and also, maintain this healthy physique and your with what kind of your workout routine is like also.
It's I'll give you sort of like the ideal situation, which is like I work out with my wife. Because I actually have 2 machines now, but I really don't even use them all the time when we train. Most of the time we're just using, kind of 4 pads on each other instead of 8, on one person. So we just kind of go through, we'll work like 3 or 4 areas, we'll do some lower body training, some upper body training of some sort. And I do it about 2 to 3 days a week. But I can, I'm almost embarrassed to admit this. Sometimes I am lazy and I just want to if I have like a Saturday and I didn't get a chance to work my legs and I just want to sit in front of Netflix, I'll put the machine on like 55 and set it on a 3-on 3-off pulse and just watch a show or something. And I've actually gotten sore from that, which is I actually do workouts, pretty intense workouts with it. You've seen some of the stuff I've posted on Instagram, where I'm jumping all around and doing all this dynamic stuff. And but my workouts, really what I noticed though is that just using it in any way, shape, or form, I always feel better when I'm done. I always feel more energized. I feel like it's helped me maintain, my muscle mass, actually not maintain, actually put on muscle mass. I mean, I in my 30s, I was looking at pictures actually just recently of my skinny little self at 40 years old when I was lean, but I had no shoulders, no arms, and they were just scrawny. And I was rock climbing, and I was like, and I realized that in the last 3 years, I've probably packed on a good 10 pounds of muscle. Just really natural looking, nice, lean, sinewy muscle. And I was like, damn, this thing really works. So really in a sense, I'm kind of like a billboard for how this stuff, works, because I'm my target audience. The guys that that tend to come to me are in their 50s and 60s. And I do have some people later, but I got a lot of people who like, well, can this help me look like you? And I'm like, yeah, absolutely. Because it'll speed up your metabolism. I don't really, other than avoiding gluten, sugar, and dairy, I really eat pretty much constantly and whatever I want, and so I have good metabolism, and I attribute that to, I'd say at least 80% of this is the machine. I'll give 20% to genetics, but I'd say most of it is just the machine just makes you work on so much more intensely. You get so much more motor unit recruitment. You get so much more. I can just feel it working, increasing my metabolism. And actually, I've noticed when I'm using it real consistently that my appetite is a little bit higher even. But everybody who works on it notices that they start getting leaner and stronger almost immediately. They can feel the difference. I mean, people literally will come into me. It's like, I don't know if it's an optical illusion. I don't know if if it's just in my head, but I feel like my arms grew an inch after that workout. I'm like, they did grow a little bit. That's not an illusion. You make progress that fast, and so that's what I've been doing with myself. I follow some of the workouts that you have that you sent me in that book. Sometimes I do variations. I'll do usually a lot easier workouts than what you have in that book. Those are really hard. Those are for those young 30-somethings you have working for.
Well, I love that you're able to, and this is something that, I'm in a similar boat even as you, where, we're busy, you're taking care of your clientele, all day long. And as a busy professional, to be able to get a meaningful workout in 20 or 30 minutes and have it be safe and not have to lift super heavy, not even have to,
exactly
go to the gym or use a bunch of equipment.
That is the key. I don't need to lift heavy. That's the, I might deadlift a couple of, like a kettlebell that's like 50 pounds or something, but I don't have any heavy weights in here. And so people think, but here's the thing though, I know I'm stronger. I have not deadlifted. I have gone years without deadlifting. And this is a funny story. I was at a friend's house. He has a CrossFit gym set up in his garage. Mm-hmm. And I had not lifted in years. All I've been doing is this kind of stuff. I had not lifted, I had not done formal deadlifts with a big barbell. And I was like, oh, that looks like fun. I just jumped down and pulled it 3 times and set it down. It's like, okay, well, let's go on over here and look at what you were doing. He was like, JP, that was almost 400 pounds. And I was like, oh, geez. And I didn't warm up. I didn't do anything. He's like, so obviously my body is staying strong. So I think a lot of people, think maybe that I'm just kind of fluffing the muscle. Saying, no, I'm actually conditioning the muscle. I'm actually making it stronger. And I can get under a heavy load when I want to. And those few times that I do want to perform something, I find that I have what it takes. I can still jump. I can still sprint. I can still lift heavy if I need to. But as for training, I don't. I just keep it light. I load I'll load, light load on certain movement patterns, but most of the load is coming in through the machine.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. That's awesome. Thank you for sharing that. And one other thing before we say goodbye, you had told me one time an interesting story about someone with some ear trouble that you had helped with tinnitus, right?
Oh yeah.
Tell me about that.
Well, he has a strange case of something called somatic tinnitus that he got from some feedback. He was on a radio show and he got some really loud feedback, and he had tinnitus, and it's just rings at a 8 or 9 level. It's just just deafening. And so what I did was, and this was, I actually consulted with you guys and got in with some of the smart people that we have in the mastermind call that just intimidate me how smart they are. And they gave me some really good feedback and kind of told me what areas to work. And I got the glove and I started working on his scalenes and kind of loosening his neck. I did a neck loosening protocol with him, and then I started working around his TMJ, started working around his temporalis. We actually found hot spots, and that would force his jaw to kind of clench. And I would kind of hold that spot and have him go through the jaw mobilizations. And then when we got done, it would be much, much lower. So it's gotten down to a manageable level where he said, he can still barely hear it, but he said, it's like, if I didn't already know that it had been there, I wouldn't know that it's there. He's like, it's gotten to a manageable point. But it wasn't, prior to that though, it was just unmanageable. It was just, constant ringing. And it was I guess that would be pretty annoying to have a constant alarm going off when you're
yeah.
And the only thing that would make it go away or turn down is if he found this little spot on his head like this and he would hold it down. and that made it made the sound go down a little bit. So that was kind of what made me think this would be a good candidate for that. And actually, I'm going to start doing some of the level 2 stuff with him now that I've learned more about the vestibular system. Thank you. Mm-hmm. I'm going to try some more of that because he does have some issues with balance and stuff. So I think it might all be related. So.
Oh, fabulous! Very good.
So I've loved the level 2, by the way. I can't wait I'm going to have to rewatch it just to make sure that I got everything down. But that was a lot of great new information. So I feel like I just totally geeked out for a couple of days. So I appreciate that you're always pushing and always creating new stuff for us. That is worth the price of the machine by itself. I mean, it really is.
Well, thank you. And thank you for being a part of not only our first level 1 course that we had back a few years ago, but you were also a part of our first level 2.
That's right.
That's awesome.
Well, I will stay with it. I'm gonna when you come up with a level 3, which I guess directing comments with your mind somehow, I will be there. I don't know how you do what you do. I mean, because you do this podcast. You have this business, you're actually seeing clients, you're traveling. I guess you're not traveling as much now, but you really are building something special. And I'm just so happy and pleased to be a part of it, and very proud to be a part of it. So
thank you. The feelings are mutual. And also, in terms of all the stuff that we've been able to accomplish, I have to definitely extend a lot of gratitude to our team. Who, we've got a wonderful team here that without whom, none of this would be possible. And so they're helping us make an impact, and then being able to work with people like you who are taking this work and being just such positive, representatives of this movement that we're building together out in your community and other practitioners doing it in theirs. And I think we're all able to grow together, which is really exciting.
That is why I'm here. It's like that whole raise all boats with the tide mentality. You guys have that down. And
that's right. Good. Very good. Thank you so much, JP, for joining us. I appreciate, the insights into your practice, some of your personal story. And I think that elements of this will resonate with everyone who's listening. So thank you for everyone who's tuning in. The Undercurrent Podcast. It's a pleasure to do another one of these. And thank you, JP. Thanks again.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for listening to the Undercurrent Podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please consider leaving a review and be sure to subscribe to stay up to date as we release future episodes.